Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Right on Crime podcast. My name is Dwight Hudson, and I'm here with Andrew Hundley of the Louisiana Parole Project. Andrew, thanks so much for coming in today and joining us via this link and chatting with us.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to first chat with you a little bit. This is my first time hosting the Right on Crime podcast, but I wanted to start with Louisiana Parole Project because as I've started at Right on Crime, I've got to tell you that Parole Project is one of my favorite organizations. It's one of the organizations I've been impressed with the most. So give us a quick intro. Tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about Louisiana Parole Project.
So Louisiana Parole Project is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission revolves around public safety and ensuring that when men and women come home from prison, they have opportunities to be successful. We are led and staffed by mostly formerly incarcerated people whose mission is to help people they understand their journey. They were in their shoes in the past, and we want to hold their hand as they're leaving prison and striving to rebuild their lives, and we want them to do it the right way. So our organization provides many services like housing, employment support, mental health services, job placement, mentoring, and all these wraparound services that we know will ultimately ensure that people go from tax burdens to taxpayers.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the things that I've been impressed with the most is sort of the data that you guys are producing and the stats, right? So in Louisiana, we generally are considered to have one of the higher recidivism rates in the country. My understanding from you guys, though, is that y'all's recidivism rate for people that are enjoying your services is around 3%. Talk to us a little bit about how you're able to achieve those awesome results.
Sure. So, I think what we've been able to prove is that if you start working with people before they're released from prison, invest in their success immediately from coming home, we could have good results. So, as you noted, we've served over 625 men and women over the last 9 years. We have a very intensive program, and we've been able to prove that if we can start working with them before they're released, but also they come into our program the day that they're released from prison. We're there to pick them up at the front gates and bringing them into our program. Our model doesn't say, hey, if you're in a bind, knock on our door or give us a call. We don't want to wait until you're struggling. We want to start working on your reentry the moment you walk out of the doors. Obviously, we don't have the resources to serve every person coming home from the Department of Corrections, but what we have proved is that if you're surgical with your resources, and if you have a strong reentry plan that starts before release and is put into place day of release, you can have good outcomes. And I think also there's obviously a model that we're able to prove that having formerly incarcerated people who've come home and have been successful that are providing these mentoring services is a good recipe. Years ago, there was a theory in law enforcement, and look, this is common sense. Felons hang around with other felons, bad things are going to happen. I think what we're proving is that people who've come home, who've rebuilt their lives successfully, can be good, positive role models for those people who are coming out today. And so we're all in on that. We're lucky that we have a good relationship with the Louisiana Department of Corrections. We don't have an adversarial relationship. We're partners. And I say we're lucky we have that relationship, but we've been able to prove over the last several years that we're good partners, good collaborators, and our mission is public safety. We've shown, or there are people who've come home from prison that, hey, they not only do they not want to go back to prison, but they want to be assets to their community. They're aspirational, and it's really proven to be a good formula. We've created a community of men and women who've come home from prison that are looking out for one another.
Awesome. Awesome. I want you to imagine stepping into the role of a policymaker for just a minute, knowing that Louisiana Parole Project can't be everywhere around the state all at once. How do you imagine Louisiana scaling your program? The type of services that you offer. How do we scale that to impact the entire prison population across the state?
Sure. So I think one thing that I do recognize, while we enjoy a less than 3% recidivism rate, and you noted, the state's, in 5-year recidivism numbers show over 40% of people, are going to return to prison. I think that one thing that we can definitely work on that we see is an issue is we have people who go from incarceration to released. From one day to the next. And we need to work on figuring out how do we, at the end of people's incarceration, step them back into society. People who live at, work release, who end their sentences at work release facilities or halfway houses or minimum security prisons ultimately have better outcomes than those people who go from maximum security or living in a cell where they're locked down without a lot of opportunities to interact with the public, and suddenly they're put out on the street. So, I think that's, obviously there's a lot that goes into that, but I think broadly, how at the end of someone's incarceration do we reintroduce them into the community? And it's sort of counter to what, some people who are tougher on crime may view the criminal justice system. They think to themselves, hey, if you got a 10-year sentence, we want to see you do every day of that 10 years because it's part of the retribution, part of the punishment. And when you've done your time, you come home. And, my experience and my team's experience, and I think anyone who works in community supervision will tell you that's not a good formula. What we want is at the end of a sentence, we want people to have opportunities to rebuild their lives. I can tell you, as someone who spent a lot of time in prison, that punishment alone did not affect my rehabilitation. And I think we recognize that retribution has to be part, but not all, of what fixes public safety. At the end of the day, there's no person who went to prison and prison fixed them. If someone changed while they were incarcerated, it was because of an opportunity they received. It may have been substance abuse treatment. It may have been learning a job skill that then they were able to come home and use that job skill to start a career and start earning and saving, for their long term. What I can tell you is that programs while that you're in prison that help prepare you for release, and then organizations like Parole Project who are there as safety nets to help you get on the right track when you come home. That's what we should be working towards. We're really proud of our model, but what I can tell you is when you really look into the details and look at what are people doing at the end of their incarceration and where are they going home to, I think really tells the difference between who goes back to prison and who was ultimately successful.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, before we wrap up here, I want you to tell the folks a little bit about the partnership that you guys have with the Frederick Douglass Project to go in and do tours and how folks can really learn more about reentry and things going on in our correction system.
Sure. So Frederick Douglass Project for Justice is an awesome program that's active in many states, and their goal is to bring people from the outside into prisons to start dialogue and meaningful visits with people who are incarcerated. And the goal is to bring people in who normally would not have any reason to step foot into a prison. And there are a few things that happens. One, the people who are incarcerated, when they see people coming in from society and who are interested in learning about what's happening in that prison and who they are, they have a bit more self-confidence. It breaks down that cynicism on the side of people who find themselves in prison that, hey, no one in society cares if I'm successful or not. Everyone just wants to see me in prison. So we get to break that down with our inside participants, but for the outside participants, they're able to see how much people in prison may be just like them. There is a shared humanity, and if you want to know what someone who's been to prison looks like, you're looking at him. It's not necessarily what you see on television, and those visits allow the public to view what happens inside of a prison, but also meet with people who will be coming home soon and re-entering the community. I can tell you, as an organization, we partner with Frederick Douglass Project in Louisiana to bring in employers, to bring in landlords, people who might be willing to be second chance employers after they take that meeting and they learn what kind of skills training someone has in prison. Hey, I'm willing to rent an apartment to this individual based on what I'm seeing them do with their lives. So it's ultimately been successful. There are different visiting programs. I would encourage anyone who's watching this who would previously think, why would I visit a prison? It behooves all of us in society, no matter how we feel about prisons or prison reform, to go and visit, because we should expect more from our prisons and the people who run those prisons to ensure that it's not only a place or places that are secure, and ensuring that people who are doing their time are doing it there and not at risk of leaving the jail by escape. But we want also jails to be and prisons to be places where people have opportunities to rebuild their lives, where people can become the best versions of themselves. I can tell you there are I'm not the exception to the rule. I'm an example of what happens when there's good policy in place. When I was in prison, I was told yes much more than I was told no. I was given many opportunities to do college courses, to have leadership skills, and that set me on a trajectory. When I came home from prison, I already had been given an opportunity to change my life, and opportunities while I was in prison that gave me a runway to continue going on my journey. I've been home for 9 years now. I've been very successful, very proud of the success of this organization, but it really is important that people know what's going on inside prison, because if community members are invested in our prisons, it leads to good outcomes, and that oversight will provide administrators and prisons with the push they need to continue to move forward on rehabilitation, in addition to just a retribution part of incarceration.
Awesome. Andrew, in our final few moments here, tell us where we can find more information about Louisiana Parole Project. Where can we find you on social media, those kind of things?
Sure. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @Parole Project, one word, @Parole Project. Our website is paroleproject.org. We would encourage people to look up and see what we do, see how we work to bring public safety into our communities through giving people opportunities to be successful when they come home from prison. When people rebuild their lives after prison, it benefits all of us. It benefits all taxpayers, because we don't have to pay for people to go back through the system. And in fact, those people become contributors. So check out Parole Project on social media or our website and learn how we're rebuilding lives and rebuilding communities.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us on the Right on Crime podcast. To reach out to our team or learn more about these issues, visit our website at rightoncrime.com.